Shane Ryan Donahue, born on August 22, 1986, was the kind of man you'd describe as a pillar of strength in his small, close-knit town of Nokesville, Virginia. The community knew Shane not only for his strong family bonds, but also for his tireless work ethic. At just 23 years old, Shane was already establishing himself as a hard-working contractor, someone willing to put in the hours to make an honest living. But behind that exterior of normalcy, there were challenges that made Shane's life far more complex than it appeared. Despite being well connected across Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., and even as far as Baltimore, Shane was facing struggles that would soon lead him down an unimaginable path. One of the most peculiar aspects of Shane's life was his dependence on others for transportation. You see, in a town where most people owned cars and moved around freely, Shane didn't have a vehicle of his own. This forced him to rely on the kindness of friends to get from place to place, from his parents' home to job sites, and between his personal residence. A man constantly on the move, yet dependent on the people around him. It makes you wonder, how did this lack of independence contribute to the events that unfolded? Could this have played a part in what happened next? Now fast forward to March 22, 2010, a day that seemed like any other. There was no storm brewing in the sky, no obvious signs of danger lurking in the shadows. Shane left his parents' home that afternoon, around 3:45 p.m., with his friend Timothy Hickerson in tow. The plan seemed simple enough. They were heading to Shane's house, just a short drive to the 12,000 block of Aden Road in Nokesville, Virginia. But what Shane didn't know, what none of us could have possibly known, was that this would be the last time anyone would see him alive. The clock was ticking, and by the end of the day, Shane would vanish without a trace. Why did Shane, a man so deeply rooted in his family, so connected to his community, suddenly disappear? And what role did his friend, Timothy Hickerson, play in this story? But before we dive deeper into the mystery, I'd like to ask for a small favor. The statistics show that more than 70% of you watching aren't subscribed to the channel yet. If you're enjoying these deep dives into true crime and want to stay updated on future cases, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel grow and ensures you don't miss out on any new videos. Now, without further ado, let's get back to the case. March 22, 2010, wasn't just another workday for Shane Donahue, it was a day of accomplishment. Shane had just wrapped up a ceiling tile installation job and was paid a generous $5,000 for his hard work. For someone like Shane, who was trying to find his footing in life, this was a reason to celebrate. He'd earned every dollar through sweat and dedication, and in a display of loyalty and appreciation, he didn't think twice before handing over $1,000 to his friend, Timothy Hickerson, who had helped him with the project. That act of goodwill, however, would become one of the last known moments in Shane's life. But here's the chilling twist. This simple exchange of money, $1,000 handed over in friendship, was also a crucial detail that would later fuel suspicion in an investigation that left more questions than answers. Timothy Hickerson, driving his company's Hickerson Brothers electric box truck, was the last person to be seen with Shane, and from that moment on, the world would never hear from Shane again. So what really happened after that payment? Did Shane simply vanish into thin air, or did something far more sinister take place that afternoon? By evening, when Shane failed to return home, the alarm bells went off. For a young man so deeply connected to his family, it was incredibly unusual for Shane not to check in. He was close to his parents. He called, texted, or dropped by regularly. But that night, there was nothing. No calls, no messages, no sign of Shane. His phone had been switched off, and that, in itself, raised immediate red flags. The silence was deafening. By the time night fell, Shane's family could no longer contain their worry. It wasn't just the kind of anxiety that comes from a young adult missing a check-in. It was deeper, more unsettling. They reported him missing, fearing the worst, but what they didn't know was that their nightmare was only just beginning. In the days and weeks that followed, Shane's family was relentless. They combed the streets, canvassed neighborhoods, and turned to social media, hoping to find any clue that could lead them to their beloved son. Investigators were brought in, leads were chased down, and yet, nothing. It was as though Shane had been swallowed by the earth itself. Early leads dried up faster than anyone could anticipate. The sense of helplessness spread like wildfire, not just through Shane's family, but through the entire town of Nokesville. You see, in a town as small as Nokesville, everyone knows everyone. It wasn't just the Donahue family left grappling with Shane's disappearance. Neighbors, friends, even distant acquaintances were left reeling. How could someone like Shane, a well-known and well-loved young man, simply vanish without a trace? And more disturbingly, how did no one see anything? The last person to see Shane alive was his close friend, Timothy Hickerson. The same Timothy who had spent countless hours with Shane, helping him with his contracting projects. The same Timothy who drove off with Shane on that fateful afternoon. And yet, in a chilling twist of fate, Timothy would quickly become the focal point of the investigation. Was Timothy merely a witness to his friend's disappearance? Or was there something far more sinister at play? Given that Shane had left with Hickerson in his box truck, investigators naturally turned their attention toward him. After all, Timothy was the last known person to be with Shane before he seemingly vanished into thin air. But there was something off about Timothy's behavior from the very beginning. He wasn't exactly forthcoming. As days passed, his cooperation with the police dwindled, and soon, whispers of suspicion began circulating through the community. Could Timothy hold the key to Shane's disappearance? And if so, why wasn't he saying anything? Just when investigators thought they might be on the verge of a breakthrough, Timothy's story took an unexpected turn. Only weeks after Shane vanished, Hickerson found himself entangled in serious legal trouble, but not related to Shane. He was arrested and eventually convicted for burglarizing 2 gun stores in the area. This new development further clouded the investigation. How could someone who had just committed such a brazen crime be innocent in a case like this? Despite Hickerson's criminal behavior, however, police were left at a frustrating standstill. They had no concrete evidence linking him to Shane's disappearance, no body, no solid motive, and most critically, no confession. Yet Hickerson's involvement was hard to ignore. After all, he had been paid $1,000 by Shane on the very day he vanished, a payment that could have been the spark for something far more nefarious. Was this money simply a gesture of goodwill, or could it have been the motive for something darker? But as Hickerson sat behind bars for the burglaries, Shane's case grew colder with every passing day. Investigators found themselves chasing shadows. There were no leads, no breakthroughs, and no new witnesses coming forward. It was as if the trail had gone completely dead. Where was Shane? And how could an entire investigation stall so completely? For Shane's family, the silence was unbearable. Even as they mourned the growing likelihood that Shane was gone forever, they refused to give up. The Donahue family launched search after search, rallying the local community to spread awareness, putting up flyers, and tirelessly keeping Shane's memory alive. But despite their best efforts, nothing substantial came to light. The family turned to social media in desperation, creating a Facebook page dedicated to Shane's case. They believed that someone, somewhere, knew the truth, if only they would come forward. The community supported them, but hope was slipping away with each day that passed without answers. As the investigation stalled, police considered another angle. Could there be more at play than just Hickerson's involvement? Shane had ties to several areas beyond Nokesville, including Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., and even Baltimore, Maryland. Investigators widened their search, questioning whether Shane's connections in these regions might have played a role in his disappearance. Did Shane know someone dangerous? Could he have crossed paths with the wrong people? Despite the renewed focus and countless interviews with friends and acquaintances, nothing substantial ever came from these theories. Every lead fizzled out, leaving Shane's case frozen in time. The question remained, was Timothy Hickerson hiding the truth, or was Shane's fate tied to something far larger and more complex than anyone could have imagined? As the years passed, the mystery of Shane Donahue's disappearance began to slowly fade from the headlines. But for his family, the agony of not knowing never dulled. Despite their tireless efforts, searches, interviews, and pleas for help, the case remained frustratingly stagnant. The lack of physical evidence, no reliable witnesses, and no solid leads had reduced Shane's disappearance to nothing more than a cold case, tucked away in the files of the Prince William County Police Department. But for those who loved Shane, especially his mother, Donna Donahue, this was no cold case. It was a wound that refused to heal. The official silence only fueled her determination. Donna had lost not just a son, but a part of herself, and she refused to let his memory be reduced to just another unsolved file. No mother should ever outlive her child, and yet Donna was forced to confront this horrifying reality every day. Over time, Donna became the voice that wouldn't be silenced. She organized searches, keeping Shane's story alive through flyers, social media campaigns, and community gatherings. The Donahue family wouldn't allow the world to forget. With each passing year, however, it became harder to maintain hope. Shane had seemingly disappeared without a trace. No body, no suspects, no closure. The Prince William County Police Department revisited the case periodically, hoping that time might shake loose some new lead, or that advances in forensic technology might offer a breakthrough. But time after time, their efforts turned up empty. It was as if Shane had been swallowed by the earth itself. Despite their best intentions, even the most seasoned detectives couldn't deny that the case was as cold as it could get. For Donna, this was more than just frustration. It was torture. How could her son simply vanish? And why wasn't anyone able to find him? In the small town of Nokesville, the lack of answers didn't stop the spread of rumors. Small-town whispers grew louder as years went by. Theories ran rampant. Some believed Shane might have been involved in something dangerous, maybe connected to the wrong people, or perhaps even caught up in an act of revenge. Could Shane have made enemies in the wider circle of Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., or even Baltimore? Others speculated that Timothy Hickerson knew far more than he was willing to admit. Was Hickerson truly just a witness, or was he hiding a darker truth? And then there was the lingering question of Shane's lack of a vehicle. He had always depended on others for transportation, raising the troubling mystery of how someone so reliant on friends for rides could vanish without anyone noticing. Did someone see something and stay silent? Or was there a more elaborate cover-up at play? The fact that Shane's phone had been switched off since the day of his disappearance only deepened the mystery. In today's world, where technology leaves a trace of nearly every movement, how could there be no digital footprint to follow? The investigators combed through phone records, but with Shane's phone inactive since the moment he disappeared, they were left with no digital clues to retrace his steps. No pings, no calls, no texts, just silence. One of the most frustrating pieces of the puzzle was Hickerson's refusal to cooperate with authorities. Why wouldn't he speak? Investigators began to view his silence as a deliberate roadblock. Could his reluctance to talk hold the key to the entire mystery? Still, they had no legal grounds to force him to speak. For years, as Hickerson sat behind bars for unrelated charges, the hope that new information might surface gradually faded. Any potential clues he might have had were locked away with him. And so, year after year, Hickerson remained a person of interest, a shadow over the investigation, but without any concrete evidence to link him to the crime. For Shane's family, The absence of answers was unbearable. Every day without closure was another day spent in limbo. They were left to wonder. Was Shane alive? Could he still be out there, waiting to be found? Or was the truth far more tragic, with his final resting place hidden somewhere only his captor knew? After more than a decade of haunting silence, the case of Shane Donahue, seemingly cold and unsolvable, was jolted back to life with an unexpected breakthrough in 2024. The years of uncertainty had worn heavily on his family, but they never gave up hope. Thanks to relentless advocacy from Shane's loved ones and major advances in forensic technology, the Prince William County Police were compelled to take another look at this case that had baffled investigators for so long. Newly available forensic and investigative techniques, tools that didn't exist back in 2010, brought a renewed sense of determination to detectives. Could these technological advancements finally reveal the truth behind Shane's disappearance? Armed with modern resources, the team re-examined old evidence, sifted through witness testimonies with fresh eyes, and began reanalyzing the data that had once seemed inconclusive. The walls were closing in. One of the key elements that pushed this renewed investigation was a closer look at Timothy Hickerson's movements, not just on the day Shane vanished, but in the crucial days leading up to and following his disappearance. As investigators dug deeper, startling revelations came to light. They uncovered new leads, suggesting that Hickerson might have been involved in a burglary at Shane's residence just days before he went missing. This connection raised chilling questions. Was the burglary a random act of theft, or could it have been the precursor to something much darker? For years, Hickerson had remained in the shadows of this case, his silence casting doubt, but with no hard evidence tying him directly to Shane's fate. But now, the pieces of the puzzle were coming together. Detectives, using more advanced tools, began to link these seemingly isolated events, leading them to a stunning conclusion. Hickerson may have played a far more direct role in Shane's disappearance than previously imagined. As the investigation progressed, Hickerson remained the primary suspect. What had long been a hunch or suspicion had solidified into something far more damning. In September 2024, the dam finally broke. Prince William County detectives, in partnership with the Flagler County Sheriff's Office in Florida, arrested Timothy Sean Hickerson. He was taken into custody during a routine traffic stop and was charged with Shane Donahue's murder. Even without a body, the evidence that had been meticulously gathered over the years was strong enough to warrant the charges. It was a major turning point, one that no one saw coming. But even with Hickerson's arrest, there was a glaring question that remained unanswered. Where was Shane? For more than 14 years, Shane's family had lived with the painful uncertainty of not knowing what had happened to him on that fateful day. And even though Hickerson was finally in custody, the truth about Shane's final moments remained elusive. The full story, the why, the how, and the where, was still shrouded in mystery. Investigators, fueled by the arrest, doubled down on their efforts to uncover the truth. They dug deeper into Hickerson's past, hoping to find any clue that could reveal the location of Shane's remains. But Hickerson wouldn't budge. He maintained his silence, offering no confession, no remorse, and no indication of where Shane might be. The refusal to cooperate only compounded the family's grief. They had waited so long for answers, and while Hickerson's arrest offered a glimpse of hope, the absence of Shane's body left a hollow space that couldn't be filled. For law enforcement, the focus now shifted. It wasn't just about charging Hickerson, it was about building an airtight case that could stand up in court, even without a body. This type of case, often referred to as a no-body case, posed significant challenges, but it wasn't impossible. With the advancements in forensic science, combined with years of circumstantial evidence, police and prosecutors believed they had what it would take to secure a conviction. The key to success would lie in presenting a solid timeline, establishing a motive, and connecting the dots between the circumstantial evidence they had gathered over the years. No body cases are difficult, but not unprecedented. Prosecutors knew they needed to paint a picture clear enough for a jury to see, to make them believe in the possibility of justice, even without the physical proof of Shane's body. For Shane's family, the arrest brought a sliver of hope, but the journey was far from over. Their ultimate goal was not just to see Hickerson behind bars, but to finally find Shane's remains and bring him home. Donna Donahue, the driving force behind every search, vigil, and plea for help, remained determined. She wouldn't stop until her son was found, until she could give him the proper burial he deserved. The family continued to push for new leads, hoping that someone, somewhere, might know the final piece of this long, agonizing puzzle. Only then would they find peace. But with so many unanswered questions, the biggest mystery still remains: will Shane Donahue's body ever be found? And without it, can true justice ever be fully served? What do you think? Is Timothy Hickerson truly the key to solving this case? Or is there more to the story that remains hidden? Could there be other people involved? And will Shane's remains ever be discovered to bring his family the closure they so desperately need? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your theories and perspectives. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth crime documentaries just like this one. Be sure to press the bell icon so you never miss an update on Shane's case and other mysteries. And while you're here, check out our previous videos on some of the most haunting unsolved cases. Just click the links on your screen now. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay curious and stay safe.